Middle cough.
Hey, behaves.
Happy Halloween or November, depending on when you're listening to this. But if you're watching it live on YouTube, what is up, everybody? You can check out our podcast down in the description below.
What is up, everybody? Guy, do you have candy ready? You're a homeowner. You're gonna have kids coming to the house. You're gonna get a lot of knocks, a lot of doorbells. Get ready. You're about
candy corn.
It's coming. You did not get them candy corn, did you?
I just did. I did a big bag of candy corn, and then with my hands, I put it in individual Ziploc bags, sealed them up myself. So, what do you think?
You're gonna get a lot of traffic tonight.
Did not give out no candy corn. I don't know. Every year, people are debating candy corn. I don't understand the debate.
It's terrible.
It's, one of the few chewy candies that you can get. You know what I had yesterday? I hadn't had it in years. You remember the Tootsie Rolls that are flavored, like fruit-flavored Tootsie Rolls? Do you remember those? You would
not
never
really,
get
no.
them. No, you would never. I've forgotten about them. They don't stick in your teeth. So
Wow,
that was a solid candy. You would never buy it for yourself, but if somebody has it.
I went to the Cal Oregon State game, and then we came back, went to Stadium Pub to watch the Fresno State game, and mainly the Fresno State game, yeah. And packed house, a lot of people in there drinking, watching games. The bartender, I mean, there were several bartenders, like probably about 8:30 at night, came around with just Reese's and Snickers, and we're handing them out to all the different fucking people getting wasted. Obviously, everyone's just eating candy.
That's an easy one.
Great time. Easy, very easy.
If you're listening to this podcast, we've got a YouTube. Go check it out. And by the way, we will have another DraftKings game this week, so you can also peep that as well. Okay. Well, there's a link.
Yes, there's a link. Yep, and leave a review, leave a question in the Apple iTunes, and get on the mailbag. We do it comes out every Saturday. No big deal. Just here working, trying to provide for our families.
That's right. So go check out the mailbag. Leave us a question. Tell us your favorite bar when you enter a question in the mailbag. So much to talk about today, John. Before we do, let's tell the people. I'm sure this was what you were doing at Stadium Pub with Tyler Raber and Brian Hawkins.
Scotty Raber, Brian Hawkins, and Scotty's girlfriend, Maria.
Sorry, Scotty. This podcast is sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Yep, Tito's Handmade Vodka. As you can see, if you follow us on the twitter.com, a lot of people are drinking it. If you follow us on Instagram, also linking to those as well. Just happens to be the #1 vodka in America, and there's nothing like, drinking a couple of them. As you see, I'm still wearing it, 12 hours later. Tito's sodas till the cows come home, and I can't ever get enough because it's one of the greatest drinks in the world. I swear by them. I live by them. And I can't recommend it. I mean, I literally recommend it to every single human I meet. But if you want a little flavor, you can go with a John Daly. Go, straight lemonade. You can go with a little splash of cran. A lot of different options, but it's hard to beat. #1 vodka in America. Tito's, American made. You guys know the drill. We're honored to be associated with them.
Yeah, we are. And a lot of you have, as John said, been sending us pictures of you enjoying your Tito's and savoring responsibly. We appreciate you sending those. Keep sending them. In 1995, Tito Beverage himself built his own distillery, John. Maxed out 19 credit cards. He did it for the love of the game, and he built something special. 6 times distilled in copper pots. He started winning awards like crazy, and the next thing you know, it was the #1 vodka in America. It's distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. It's 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, and it is crafted to be savored responsibly. Thank you, Tito's, for this. All right, and thank you for supporting Tito's. Podcast also brought to you by
MyBookie.com, or actually MyBookie.ag.
Promo code Hammond, the #1. Well, they will match that first deposit. They will double it, in fact, up to $1,000. If you accept the bonus, you must bet the full amount before you can withdraw funds, or you can decline the bonus. Either way, let them know that we sent you. We are on fire. And there's only one thing to do, John. There's only one thing to do.
Bet more.
Give us our own flowers.
Yeah. MyBookie.ag promo. We got also, if you're listening to this Monday morning, you got Monday Night Football coming up right around the corner, and the line on that game is currently not the greatest game on paper.
Yeah.
Chiefs, Danny Dimes is currently Chiefs minus 10.5. I honestly kind of like the Giants plus 10.5. Game in Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually kind of like Chiefs. Over under 52. It's 10.5's a lot, but I could see the Chiefs trying to, like Stella, try to get their groove back.
Like Kyle trying to get his groove back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, look, things have been going well. We have now won 6 in a row. Our pick this week was the Steelers plus 3.5. I had a few people hit me up the last few days. Like, what was the lock? I missed it. The lock is always on our Thursday night podcast or Thursday afternoon podcast or whatever it is. This week, the lock was Steelers plus 3.5. We have now hit 6 in a row. We put 300 on each of those games, and we've been rolling it over and rolling it over. And, John, we decided to spice it up a little bit this week, and that was got to tell you, people, that was a thrill. That was a thrill. At different points of the day, I thought any of the 4 teams was going to kill our 4-team parlay.
I felt pretty good all day, even when it was 10-3 about the Steelers. I was really confident about the Steelers. I can't say the same thing for the.
We took the Steelers money line in the parlay, to be clear.
Yeah, for the Steelers, I was a little nervous about the money line, but just our flat bet on the Steelers, I was very confident. This was found money. I was not confident at all with this parlay. I thought it was dead about 75 different times. And even once we cleared the other 3 games, I mean, the Jets, obviously we took them plus 10.5, but to win outright, incredible. The Niners, it looked like they were dead for rights, and they came back. The Steelers to win that game once their kicker got absolutely was it a muffed kick or was it a fake kick?
I thought it was fake. I didn't see the.
I thought it was fake too.
I just saw the roll. Looked like a quarterback. Bam, hit in the head with a helmet.
Absolutely destroy. I mean, elevated in the air, killed. That one, I got a little nervous. I think you tweeted like this potential big ramifications here. No kicker. They had to go for 2. When they went up 15-10. When they got up 15-10, I was pretty confident. Bills game guy, not confident at all. It was 3-3 for a large percentage of the game. Then it went 10-3.
Bills, to be clear, Bills needed to cover 14.
Needed to cover 14.
It's Miami.
It didn't feel like it was going our way. And then even toward the end, it just didn't add up. You're like, well, they got the ball to even if they don't score here, they're just going to win by 10 or whatever. We're screwed. Or maybe it was 8. I don't know. I gave up.
I think it was 19-11, I think was the score. And I tweeted, need a pick 6 here. And Tua from like his own 15-yard line almost threw a pick 6 right then. So then you go, okay, we're good. But then you started texting me like, well, are we close here? The Bills could just be kneeling on this. I think Miami had 1 timeout.
I saw they had none on the ESPN app.
Okay.
They had none.
They had none. First down, no. Second down, no.
I think we're very lucky that the pick happened before the 2-minute warning than after. I think we would have been fucked, right? If it was 1:50 on the clock instead of 2:10 on the clock, we lose. Because they ran the ball and the 2-minute warning stopped it. And for whatever reason, maybe divisional game helped too because they went for that rollout with Josh Allen. They easily could have just knelt it, right?
I think if you watch the play again, now that you say that, thinking about it, the Bills could have picked up a first down at like the 1-yard line. I think if you watch it again, Josh Allen thinks about going down before he gets to the end zone. Now that you say in hindsight, that's what was happening. I watched it going like, why isn't Josh attacking the hole? I think he thought about going down. That would have cost us our 14 parlay, which we put $100 on that, and it paid. I got this thing is blocking me here, so I can't see. It paid. So 100 paid $1,743.85.
We have now turned $300 into $3,400. Now, obviously, a huge reason for that is this. This provided, it's not just $1,700, it's $1,843 because you got to add the 100. You get the 100 back and you get the winnings. So there's the parlay is a little like a golf bet. It's an incredible ROI. We just turned 100. That's 17-1 right there, guy. That's great.
And the Jets, the Jets game was. No doubt. I mean, they ended up winning the thing outright.
There was a moment when Chase dropped a touchdown. There could have been a big swing. They ended up kicking a field goal. But you're right. The Jets never quit.
Well, you're right. And then the Jets had a touchdown thrown. An incredible catch, like an Odell catch. Did you see that catch?
No, I don't think I did.
They overruled it. Name me some of their receivers.
Yeah.
Caught the ball one hand. Like it was Odell-esque. They wipe it off. Should have been a touchdown. It was a bad job by the refs. Berrios comes down, has a gorgeous like tap drag touchdown, and it was on. It was on, John. It was on. So, woo! And a few people. The other thing that makes me very happy is the people that tweeted at us that also bet what we bet.
I saw a guy put $50 on it, won $1,000. It's just we're trying to help you out, and I love when we got something right. And I'll give you credit. You added the Dolphins. I didn't love it, I'll be honest. But I didn't say anything. I didn't love it. I didn't love it.
I don't know how you feel great about it the way it happened. I was texting you apologizing for throwing that game in there.
But one thing we've learned, though, when you bet against Tua, even when you feel out of it as a gambler, he can put you right back in it because he throws terrible turnovers.
Yeah, shout out to Tua.
Yeah, shout out to Tonga Vailoa.
Tonga Vailoa! Is Deshaun, was that his
Did
last
you
pass
see,
as a Dolphin?
really quick, not to get too off topic because we're going to dive right into the Niners game here, but you were tweeting with someone over the last week about if you just picked only Alabama players, could you find a team that could make the playoffs? Yeah. And I think the answer was pretty easily yes.
Yeah.
But as the starting quarterback, they had Tua, not Mac Jones. Hey, everyone, and I'm not saying everyone, it was one person. If you're doing the Excel spreadsheet with all the Alabama starters, at starting quarterback is McCorkle Jones, right?
Yes, no question.
Yeah.
Blake on YouTube says, "Are you guys going to talk football or about the stupid parlay? Nobody cares about your bets."
You want to block? You want to block Blake? You can do that, guy, if you want to block him.
No. I'm not into blocking Blake. I mean, everyone that consumes this after the fact can fast forward past if they want, but that's okay. Here we go, John. Let's talk about it. The Niners beat the Bears, and I was thinking about, in addition to just the obvious, which is keep things level, playoff hopes alive, right? Just kind of not let the whole ship sink, I think is the way we talked about it earlier in the week. It was, to me, in some ways, a college football win where we never talk about this in the NFL. I think we talk about it a lot in college because college, there's style points and the eye test matter. And there's this thing where you just beat the teams you're supposed to beat and move on. And this fell into that category. Even on a day when at times it felt like, they weren't going to beat a team that they were supposed to beat. We'll talk about what happened in the game and what it meant. Like, did it mean something that Kyle fell got a rhythm, Ayuk, whatever. But to me, the most basic thing about this game was it was a college football-like result. Win a game you're supposed to win, put it away and move on.
Well, I think the number one thing coming into this game that we kept talking about was with Khalil Mack missing the game, and he had been a guy that, because of the team he was playing on, I don't think people were locked in. He had been playing awesome. He had been playing like an all-pro, and he was headed to be an all-pro, right? He had six sacks, which was high up there. I think he was third in the league. He was dominating. Him missing that game, all of a sudden you went, well, shouldn't the Niners have more impact players than the Bears? And I think you saw today the combination of two things. They're impact players, and listen, Elijah Mitchell in their wins has just been an impact player. He's rushing for 100-plus yards. I don't even know what his final stat line, but he was fucking awesome. Obviously, I know he had more than 100 yards. He had 90 yards in the fourth quarter.
Dubal said that oh, sorry, go ahead. You're about to give me a good number.
And Dubal said that was the most yards in a fourth quarter for a 49er since Frank Gore in 2010.
Wow.
So, I think their impact players made plays, and their head coach, and the Bears were missing their impact player and their head coach. Now, you can make fun of my guy Matt Nagy all you want, but the Tabor guy he actually has pretty good hair, a little blonde hair. That's not their head coach. Like, it's not an ideal situation to be in. Like, they were at a disadvantage with their best, and the Niners took advantage of it. That's what they had to do to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Of the first 100-yard rusher in back-to-back games for the Niners since 2018, and that was Matt. I always screw it up.
What year?
Breda. I never have gotten it right. I didn't get it right when he was playing every day for the Niners, so sorry. But 2018, first time they had a 100-yard rusher in back-to-back games.
I say
same guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, what's crazy about the game? There was one thing as the Niners trailed at halftime and scrambled to get the ball into scoring position, right? And there was the decision to make. Do they use the timeout or not? Because if they don't use it, they're going to give it back to the Bears. And it cost them, Breda, and it cost them a lot of time. They snapped the ball with 30 seconds after declining to use the timeout after the Ayuk catch. And so it cost them about a minute. No, it cost them 30 seconds. Sorry, 33 seconds. Ayuk catches the ball on 3rd and 4 with 1:03 left in the first half. Okay. Yeah. They don't use a timeout. Then they snap at 30 seconds. So 33 seconds come off the clock because they let the play clock come down.
Which was probably the right move because you couldn't risk an incompletion from Jimmy and then punting it, back. And I think, who knows if this guy knows what he's talking about.
What do you mean?
The commenters with the name.
Oh, I don't know. Okay. But I'll trust him because I'm 50-50 on it. I just throw one out. So they get down and score. Like they hit the big play, they get down and score. And at that point, even though it felt like, they were lacking, and they were 7.5, almost 7.6 yards per play, 2 yards better than Chicago at 5.4. Like they were in some ways, I thought, better than Chicago. It's just they couldn't get a stop. And the crazy thing was they weren't getting stopped. They didn't get stopped at all. Mitch Wishnowsky didn't punt. Like the only drive that didn't end in points was the first drive of the game when they missed a field goal. The Niners scored on every drive. And yet it felt like they just weren't going to be able to fully put it together. And you know what? There was a point, I don't know what you were thinking. Probably around halftime, I'm thinking they can't stop him. Fields is running all over the place, kind of doing what he wants, it felt like. The numbers did not bear it out, but at halftime, it felt like they weren't making plays behind the line of scrimmage. But it was hard to be mad at the defense because I'm just thinking, if you're going to score like 9 points, you're just not going to win the game. If you're going to score 14 points. Now, part of that was there just weren't possessions, right? There just were not possessions in the game.
Well, when they showed the clock, I think at one point in time at the end of the first half, it was 9-19, and obviously some seconds. So it was just like, it didn't feel like the 49ers had the ball that long, right? Like they would just,
the Bears were plus 9. That's right. Time of possession.
So it was just a huge advantage. In the second half, that flipped. The Niners kept the ball. Now, I will say this, and I know he's taken some heat as statistically the worst quarterback. I guess Zach Wilson was. He was the second worst, depending on what you looked at, Justin Fields. I thought he was pretty good today. Just looked calm, collected, made some plays. Obviously, his touchdown. Like, you were playing a rookie quarterback who was playing, like, if you just said that was Justin Fields in a year, to me, that was a pretty impressive game from him. I thought he was pretty accurate. I thought obviously the one play he made where he scrambled a couple times. I think Greg Olsen actually is really good on TV.
Yes.
And he said, I thought he was much more decisive today when he would scramble instead of should I run or should I throw? Because I don't want to be known as a run. He just took off a couple times. I don't think people quite realize this. Lamar, Kyler, 2 fastest players, low 4.3 guys. Fields is the 3rd fastest quarterback. He is hauling ass. So it's not just, he runs again. He should run. He is fast. He's 4.4. I mean, that's hauling ass. I don't know if it's hard to tell with context of Twitter, but Marcus Thompson was there was one scramble where it's just Bosa and him, just Ohio State on Ohio State crime. And it's God, he made Bosa look really slow. Well, yeah, because Nick Bosa is probably a 4.7 guy, which is hauling ass for a defensive end. And that guy's a 4.4 guy. So when you talk about these numbers, there's a big difference always between 4.4 and 4.6, even though if you and I were just sitting there at the end of the race and just watched a 4.4 guy and a 4.6 guy, it doesn't look that much different in real time. But when one fucking guy has the ball rounding the corner and 97's chasing him, it makes Nick look slow. But Nick's not actually slow. It's just Fields is incredibly fast. I thought Fields, and even Herbert had a couple moments today, Justin's long-lost cousin. Those 2 guys are really, really talented. I was impressed.
And Fields is he's not just fast, he's a really talented runner, and he's elusive. So he gets angles, and then it's really impossible. It's a game, we always say, I think the cliche, it's a game of inches, means if you are just a hair off by a degree or two, he's gone. And that touchdown he scored on just goes down as, just put it in the bucket where you put all the greatest plays in NFL history. I'm not saying it's the greatest top 10 or whatever.
It was a remarkable play.
Yeah, if there's a VIP room of the greatest plays in NFL history, that play gets into the VIP room.
I know this. I don't know what the reaction was on social media or every single person on their couch on that. To me, that's a play where you tip your hat. That's just... Yeah,
it just happened to be a back-breaking play.
But it wasn't really. It tied the game, right?
Yeah, well, it just felt like it was going to, that could be it.
I still felt pretty good because the Niners were playing well. It took a remarkable play for them to score. And from a remarkable player who, to me, I haven't watched every single snap. That had to be his most complete game as a pro. I know he has one interception, but at the end of the game, he had no choice.
Yeah, that one didn't count.
I thought he was really good today.
I agree. It was. Yeah, it wasn't even a game you need to look at the numbers. I'll tell you what they were.
Well, 19 to 27,
175, a touchdown, a pick, but 10 carries for 103 yards and a touchdown.
His running was awesome.
It just stresses the defense. And they still got to him. In the end, they still got to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bosa got 2 sacks. They still, as the game wore on, because I thought early in the game, like, they are just missing everything they've had to. The domino effect of no Kinlaw is just going to show itself today. That's what it felt like early on. And, they pulled it together.
Well, one thing they started doing, and I mean, it's just, of course, when you score points. Now, if they were playing the Rams, if they were playing a healthy Kyler Murray, and they can match you, right, with scoring touchdowns, it does get more difficult for a rookie quarterback to keep leading touchdown drives. So once the second half, started, that first half, they had 9 points, right, all field goals. Well, once you start scoring touchdowns, and then you take the lead against a rookie quarterback, you gain the advantage, right? It felt like the Niners in the first half were kind of getting throttled. If it was a boxing match, like they're getting hit, they're not landing that many punches. Even the punches they land are not doing that much. And in the second half, they constantly had them against the ropes. And they never truly knocked them out, but at the end of the game, it was an easy, resounding, every judge gave the Niners the victory. And it's just something that I think every single person has been asking for. Just win the game and have a stretch of football, and they had to have it at the most important time, losing out of halftime on the road, where it's like, are you going to lose to a team that Nagy and Khalil Mack are not even did they show Khalil on TV? I didn't see him.
I didn't see him.
And I wouldn't even blame him if he didn't show, and Nagy obviously is not there. You're going to lose to a team that doesn't have their head coach? And no, they didn't. They flipped the switch, and they started kicking ass and taking names. They just kind of overpowered them. Their style, right? Running the ball to the edges, knocking it down your throat. Deebo making plays fucking all over the place. Like you said, defensively, making some key spots. They tackled pretty well today for the most part. Just played well in the second half with their back against the wall when it would have been, at one point in time, everyone listening to this had to think, like, the 49ers are going to lose to the Bears.
Yeah, because the place was rocking early. Like, after the missed field goal to start the game, you kind of looked around like, did the Bears – I'm not saying that they're better off without Matt Nagy. I'm just saying sometimes when something changes and a team is struggling, maybe there's an inspiration that comes from it. Not that I don't think they've been I think they've been bad. I haven't watched them. I thought they've been uninspired necessarily this year. But
did you notice in the second half, like when Juszczyk caught a ball, you heard a lot of Jews. The Niners sneaky. I bet there were a lot of Niner fans there today.
There were. I mean, you saw when they missed the extra point, there were a lot of Niner fans in the background when they didn't tie the game. And I thought, God, if the Niners kick a field goal, that point's going to be big because now it's going to be 4 and we'll get a push. The Niners did not play a perfect game. They had a couple key penalties. Armstead jumped on 3rd and 9 and they got the first down. And then they eventually they took the lead on that drive. And then the Josh Norman holding penalty on a 3rd and 8.
I hate defensive holdings and automatic first down. So stupid.
I know. But so there was, and then they get we'll talk about Deebo, but the Niners get the ball back down 16-9. They get the Ayuk screen, the block in the back from Juszczyk, pushing back. Charlie Warner, nothing. 3rd and 20. And then Deebo goes for 84 yards.
I think it was hard for anyone to see the second half coming just because if the Niners were a 4-2 team coming into this game, you're like, okay, they'll flip a switch. They'll be fine. There have been no switches to flip for a month, right? It's like, are they just a bad team? I just kept thinking, are they really just a bad team? They can't be this bad. Like, you can't still have all these functional players. I mean, Trent's out there, Bosa's out there, Debo's out there, Ayuk's out there, Fred Warner's out there. You can't have all these players out there and just be this terrible. And it turns out they're just not. But it did cross my mind, maybe they're not very good. Right? Because I did not. How could you? Down at halftime, 16-9 on the road, when they've lost 4 straight games, it was hard to be optimistic.
No,
I did not. Team. One, from a gambling standpoint, I thought no chance. Even if they pull this thing out, they're going to win by like 1 point.
Yeah, it just, you hadn't seen. Sometimes you see teams that get behind and then come back and win. And now, that Colts game, I think, was a game where you thought, all right, there were times in that Colts game where they were down, and I thought they'll find a way. They didn't. And then once you see that happen enough times, you stop believing that it'll happen. Now, part of it is they played the Bears today, right? Yeah. They played the Bears. They didn't play the Colts, who almost beat the Titans, went to overtime with them. They played the Bears. But that's fine. That's why when you look at what's coming up, you go, okay, that game helps. That game helps. It counts the same in the standings. And this one helped. You had to get – it was a had-to-have-it game. They got it. Now, we'll discuss today and over the next week, what did it mean, but you had to have the game. You just had to have the game.
Agreed.
So, and so the question then becomes like, was what happened offensively for them them finding something? Did Kyle find something with their offense that we saw, especially in the second half with the rhythm? And again, they weren't finishing at the end, but they did score on every drive except for that first one where they missed the field goal. Did they find something? Offensively,
you see the quote,
did Kyle find something?
You see the quote from Garoppolo after the game that he said, I mean,
Did it have 17 F-bombs in it?
No, his only had about 4 with a couple shits that Kyle called a hell of a game. And I think the moment, like, that Deebo play happened, like, let's face it, that's a good play call. It's a better play by Deebo than the play call. I mean, it was a remarkable play. Like, that's not like, I mean, you get credit for the play call. I mean, Jimmy gets credit for 83 yards as a pass play, even though it probably traveled at most like 8 yards in the air. I guess maybe a little longer because the field's 53 yards wide, so it's probably 20 yards in the air. But the point is that play gave them some momentum, and then they were able to get to the run game. And this is the one with Kyle. Like, I don't love it. I would like to just have him be able to have a game where he can call 40 pass plays, and the flow of the game looks like an Andy Reid game or a Sean Payton game. It's just not really his offensive style. His offensive style is very predicated on outside runs. I would say more just the run game. He has an erection for outside. To me, his favorite play in his playbook is either some sort of, he did it a lot today, the pitch play, where it feels like Juszczyk's in motion, Trent Williams almost pulls, and he is the strong side tackle to lead up. He loves that play. And there's a tight end over there. Like that, to me, when I think Kyle Shanahan run game, I think that. Obviously, the outside zone's a big deal too. But the pitch play, and it might have just been as simple as like, well, it's had a lot of success this year, just getting our guy in space. Elijah Mitchell's good in space. But when he could get that play going, then everything off of it felt to come. And we were, I saw someone ripped part of our video and tweeted it out last week of you and I talking at my place about why isn't anyone open? And I think it's hard for, like, Kyle does his best work when you're just all out stop the run, and then he can pick you apart with some play action stuff, drag guys across the middle, hit guys in stride across the middle that get those yak yards of a slant. A 7-yard pass play turns into 18 yards. And then all of a sudden, you get an Elijah Mitchell 15-yard run, a slant play for 18 yards, and you're like, oh my God, did we just travel 40 yards in 2 plays? Where when they've gone through ruts, it feels like they travel 3 yards in 7 plays. You're like, we're going nowhere. And then today, it felt when you get chunk explosive plays, and for whatever reason, I mean, it's not for whatever reason, Kyle's offense loves the run game, and it's what his whole offense is predicated off of. They get a lot of explosive plays in the run game.
Yeah. But you could see what the mindset was on the first drive, right, where they came out and threw on the first 3 plays. Obviously, on the first third down of the game, the connection to Sanu, they had to throw the ball. It was 3rd and 10. But they tried to get the ball to Ayuk on the second play. I mean, he made a couple efforts, tried to get Ayuk on that kind of screen that there was the block in the back on Juszczyk, and it got blown up anyway. It didn't really
I bet
matter.
I bet they like the matchup, and I like Jalen Johnson. I'm sure you do. I'm sure everyone does. I mean, Utah, tall corner, but he's not a speed demon, so I bet they
Central
feel
High School, Central Valley.
No shit. I didn't know that. If you can get a guy Ayuk in space, could he just beat him with speed? And they tried to do that a couple times. It just didn't. And they tried to go at him at the goal line. Clearly, they like that matchup.
It's happened a few times this year, though, where they try to get it out to Ayuk in space, and somebody just clips him, and it goes for 3 or 4 yards. Or he doesn't get a block, and it hasn't quite worked the way you think. They'll keep trying it, I would imagine, but it hasn't quite worked, I don't think.
He's actually faster than I thought. I thought he was going to be like a 4.5 8 guy. He ran 4.5 at the combine. So
Jalen Johnson?
Yeah, good
Second
player.
round?
I like that guy. Yeah, second round, 50th pick.
So three and done.
He's a good player.
He was a true junior when he came out, I think.
I mean, he's good, but I didn't know. I didn't realize he was quite that fast.
Yeah, he was a premium. I think he was like the top recruit at the time that Utah had ever signed in terms of like rating coming out of high school. But Ayuk on the 2-point. I mean, it had a rhythm again, right? And you said to me, like, look, go watch Kyle's post-game speech, 2 minutes long, like 2:05, heavily edited, like edited out some things. They don't bleep, they just drop the audio on an F-bomb or shit. I counted 19 F-bombs or shits from him or Jimmy in the 2-minute span. So that's about one every 6.5 seconds or so.
Jimmy came strong with his like 10-second performance.
Well, it's contagious. If the head man's doing it, you got to do it. But he mentioned Ayuk. he said, Jimmy's had his back, like the rest of us have been up against the wall. Like, he's aware, obviously, of what the perception is. What
Well, I
gets
mean,
said.
he lost 4 straight games. Like, it's pretty obvious in the building, right? But it's not even like what the Kawakami's writing or what me and you were saying. Like, he's lost 4 fucking straight games. So you don't even need
it's
to
not
read
a secret.
anything.
No.
Yeah.
But I do think he's aware. I'm not saying he's aware of like specific things that are said, but he understands that the feeling is different than it was at other points in his head coaching tenure when they were also losing games. Like, this one's different than it was for all the other times. And, I think they let it rip a little bit early in the game. He tried to with the pass game, and then they got their rhythm.
I did think, watching all of his press conferences post the Colts game.
Oh, and Ayuk had the punt return. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he had his best game of the season by far. Just from just like God, he looked really good. It helps when the ball's in his hands. Novel concept, throw, get him the ball.
Yeah, because not every play's going to work, so do it again.
Listen, it's not as aggressive out here with media scrums. Like, it takes specific incidents, right? I remember going way back to Harbaugh when the story broke about him getting traded. It just started getting contentious in the group. This week, the media, just the questions he's getting asked, it's not quite Philly or New York, but it is as uncomfortable as it gets for the West Coast with Kyle all week. Ask about every situation, a lot of stuff about how the fans are feeling. Like, so, it's kind of in his face a little bit with everyone coming from, Mayoko. Mayoko, I thought, put on a pretty good performance the last 7 days of drilling old Kyle. That's just the nature of the sport when you lose 4 games. And that's where going to this game, I thought, I kept thinking, Kyle Shanahan is going to lose 5 straight games. How many coaches, like top coaches, and we can debate all we want, and his record now is 32-39, but just a guy who has the financial security as Kyle, who went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Like, do you think Andy Reid's ever lost 5 straight games? Sean Payton's ever lost 5 straight games? Bill Belichick, 5 straight games? Even with an extra game, that's a fucking shit. I mean, Jesus. 5 straight losses? And I thought, I didn't think it was a lock they were going to lose because they're still playing a rookie quarterback. And I'm like, I don't know how Kyle's going to get out of this thing. And until that Deebo throw, I was not very optimistic. How could you have been? I mean, they haven't won. The team was just the field goals. Like, you can't just keep kicking field goals.
No.
What faith did you have in Jimmy of, like, leading touchdown drives? And then he just, Kyle kind of got his groove back with the play calling, and they have felt very specific on good drives this year. It's clear what a Kyle Shanahan good drive looks like, and that's why I go back to the running game. And that's what makes me a little nervous is sometimes you just can't run for 140 yards with one guy, right? Now, maybe Kyle would just say, hey, we don't need, it's not necessarily about the yards, it's can we just be effective with the run game for me able to call the plays, and I can get my quarterback in much more comfortable positions if we can just be effective on drives with the run game. We don't need to run for a total of however many yards they had today. They ran for 145 and averaged 5.6 a carry. If we just run for 100 yards, so 40 less, but on specific drives, get first downs with the run game, get a couple 7-yard runs, then I can keep them on their heels and I'll be fine. But if we're running in games for 50, 60 yards, our offense is going to be in trouble because that is where a lot of other teams can have a lot of success. Like, a lot of teams can win games when they run for 60 yards and their quarterback's going to throw for 400. That's not the way Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners are set up, right?
No, I mean, 322 today, but 83 of those on that, the pass to Deebo on that tunnel screen. So it was really 239 outside of that play. But didn't you feel like they made a concerted effort to throw the ball down the field more in the game? Because I texted you earlier.
They hit Deebo on the big one before the end of the half.
Well, the second play of the game was the shot to Ayuk.
Took a big shot to Ayuk. Yeah, they took several shots today.
Now some of it they were in some 3rd and longs, but I thought they made a concerted effort to push it down the field a little more. And I texted you early in the game, like, kind of making a joke, like you want them to throw the ball downfield more. Then you see them throw the downfield throw, and they're not connecting on it, and all of a sudden they're in a 3rd and 10. I mean, that's
Eddie Jackson hasn't been really that great actually since Fangio left, but he is. Their starting safety, who's a playmaker in theory, went out. Like, was that like the first series of the game?
That was the Ayuk throw. Wasn't that the Ayuk throw?
Was across the middle to Ayuk, where Eddie's kind of chasing him.
Yeah,
whatever. It was the first series of the game. Eddie Jackson goes out, so maybe you just know they have a backup safety in. You're just more inclined to take shots. Would they have taken shots with him as consistently? I don't know.
Yeah, you're saying maybe it was dictated by the defensive personnel.
which is a smart thing to do, right? You see it a lot like when a starting corner goes out and Joe Buck will be like, well, they got this 6th-round rookie coming in, and then the next play it's like Tom Brady's going right at him. Like that's what you should do. When you get a weakness, you exploit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what else did they do today? Why do you have success on the edges? Well, 52, one of the best run defenders of my lifetime, who would have had the edge. Like, it's a little harder for Dwelly and Juszczyk just to contain the edge, right? Or McGlinchey, he ain't there. Run the shit out of the edges. So I give Kyle, you're going to spend all this time game planning. They took advantage coming into the game, kind of. I mean, they got their flow, but they knew that this guy's not there, so you could hammer it home. And they adjusted well as the game went on.
And now you get Kittle back. Hopefully.
And now you get Kittle back, yeah.
Right.
Like you said, hopefully. He's eligible to return.
Yeah, right. And Kyler, what did Jay Glazer say about Kyler?
He said 1 to 3 weeks, but you and I both, before
Ankle
we hit
sprain.
record on this, I wouldn't put I don't expect him to miss the game. Not saying he won't miss the game, but we'll just wait and see this one. Yeah.
Right.
Though I do think the Niners are owed this, right? They've given a lot of teams 7 million guys to miss games over the last couple years.
Yeah, they might be owed it. I wonder, is there such a thing as a carryover? Does finding something against one team offensively, when it's not anything new, it's just getting back to doing what you do efficiently, does that carry over when now you're playing a different team who's better, right? The Cardinals are better on defense than the Chicago Bears are. But the Niners,
they're missing a guy right away. JJ's out for the year now.
And JJ's been good. But like early in the game at one point, or maybe it was around halftime, I think the Bears were whatever they were on third down, like 5 of 6 or 6 of 8. The Niners were 2 of 6. Well, what's 2 of 6? It's 33%. Well, guess what? The Niners are a 31% third down conversion team. That's what they are. The Niners and the Bears were tied. Percentage points. The Niners were 29th. The Niners were 30th. The Jags are 31st, and the Bears are 32nd in third down conversions coming in the game. It was all 32-point-something% or 31-point-something%. So that was part of their issue. So the question is, is there more confidence? Is there more confidence in Ayuk now than there was to force the ball to him? Right? I don't know. That something has to carry over. Like your rhythm doesn't just carry over into next week automatically because you had it on Sunday. It doesn't show up with you.
And this goes back to what I said at the beginning. The good thing for the Niners, unlike the Bears, who have a rookie quarterback and an offense that have been putrid for years, and the Jags, who are, a joke. They lost 31-7 today. They're just not very good. The Niners, while they haven't been good this year, do have guys on the team that know what good is, right? Jimmy has led good drives. Trent Williams, an elite player. McGlinchey's been a part of good drives. Alex Mack, Deebo, Ayuk. These guys know what good, productive. You get Kittle back. Now, and then you find in this rookie, that just immediately, I don't know, Elijah Mitchell looks like a 5-year veteran playing.
He looks the way he looked in college when we watched the tape, John. Your point, good players who know what good football looks like. Runaway Turtle on the stream quotes Nick Bosa post-game. Bosa said, according to Runaway Turtle, this could be a made-up Bosa quote, I think the offensive line took this one to heart, and they thought they could be playing better this season, and they showed what they could do out there.
I don't think it's nothing either that Trent Williams, who had missed a game, clearly had missed practice this week, up until Friday, I didn't think. And then all of a sudden he went to, was back at practice and he played. That to me was a huge deal for the 49ers, just to get probably pound for pound your best player. You see, they're at the Warriors game. And they announced Debo Samuel, and he's sitting next to Trent Williams, an 8-time Pro Bowler. And then later in the game, they show him on the Jumbotron, and Trent's like, fuck, you already missed me. Screw you. You don't get to come back. I love Debo Samuel, and Debo's becoming a star, but I'm an 8-time Pro Bowler. You see how much Google my contracts.
He's wearing a pendant, right? Like a diamond-encrusted pendant around his neck. That should be a tip that that's somebody sitting there. And it's not like he's huge. He's massive. He's massive. But that's the way it is, John, behind the face mask. No one gives love to the offensive lineman. And I guess the mask. But they also tweeted out a photo, 19 problems in the building. And you see, Trent Williams' shoe. It's just damn. No respect.
Yeah, not getting love.
But it also, it's also a reflection of how beloved Debo Samuel is, which we will also get to. So, before we do that, John, let's tell the people real quick that this podcast is brought to you in part by our friends at Overland. Now these, I'm wearing mine. You are wearing yours. Overland.com/ham. Put them up, put them up. When I came over to your house, I was a good house guest. I brought my own slippers because that's what you do, you know?
I'm not very flexible.
Did you just pop a hammy?
Yeah, I mean, I got close. I pulled the leg back down before it popped. But sometimes I have to put my foot out of them just because they're so warm. They feel so good. They're so comfortable. I went to the to get my mail earlier today. Wore these because the sole, you can just walk on the concrete, even the wet. You just like having a shoe on, but it's actually like having a slipper on. Can't recommend them enough. Overland.com/ham. They're fantastic.
Family-owned American heritage brand that's put comfort and quality first for nearly 50 years. They've got a ton of other leather goods, outerwear, accessories, home decor. But the slippers is what we got. And they've got expert craftsmanship, the highest quality merino sheepskin, which is naturally moisture-wicking, temperature-regulating, antimicrobial, with supportive memory foam midsoles in order to make the slippers that feel better, wear better for longer. And Overland sets itself apart with the true double-face sheepskin. So the suede you see on the outside is the same piece of fluffy sheepskin you feel on the inside. Don't wait another day. They've got a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Slip into something way more comfortable. Get the best, highest quality sheepskin slippers on the market at overland.com/ham. You'll get free shipping and free returns. Go today. They're beloved. They've been known to sell out. Overland.com/ham. Overland.com/ham.
Elite.
Podcast also brought to you by our friends at Puesto. John, this is the good stuff. This is the good stuff. Puesto, we've been telling you about Puesto now for a little while. Mexican artisan kitchen and bar. In fact, we started telling you about Puesto, and some of you were like, yeah, we know about Puesto. It's phenomenal. We went native Puesto, their location in Concord, and guess what, John? It delivered.
It's awesome. Now, listen, it's double whammy. Puesto's got a little something special coming. The one in Concord, the one in Santa Clara for our Bay Area residents. For those in Southern California, same thing. Taco Tuesday deal starts at 3 p.m. and goes until close. It'll be every Tuesday moving forward. Half off tacos, guy. Half off all tacos.
That's
Can you half off all tacos? How do you beat that? I don't know if you do. So
Plus
half off all tacos.
Yeah, that's the Taco Tuesday.
That's the Taco Tuesday. Starts at 3. Goes until close.
Yep.
Also, guy, we got a 49er home game this week. You've seen the record. They haven't won many home games.
No,
they have the Cardinals rolling in. So if you're going to the game, 49ers, Arizona Cardinals, might be Colt McCoy. The Niners are owed Colt McCoy. You get 110, section 110 or 129. Puesto's in the stadium. So go get a taco at the game Sunday. Imagine that's a 1 o'clock little kickoff. So, yeah, go check it out.
Oh, God. My favorite, the quesadilla taco, which is the crispy melted cheese, braised short rib, plus the Jalisco salsa. Jalisco. Pickled radish, classic guacamole. The tortillas are made in-house daily from scratch. Made to order, featuring organic, non-GMO masa from Macienda. I still don't know if that's an ingredient, a plant, or a place. But you can find nothing better on the market than the tortillas that they make every day at Puesto. Eric and Alex, the Adler brothers, they are doing it right. Ton of Southern California locations. The Bang Bang Margarita, one of the many margaritas they have. And Lydia from Puesto John also told us not only about Taco Tuesday, but they have happy hour now every Monday through Friday from 3 to 5. That's $9 Puesto Perfect Margaritas, $7 wine by the glass, $6 shot of the day, $5 Puesto draft beers, and half off all their snack and share items. And like you can in fantasy football where you stack your lineup, quarterback to receivers from the same team or something like that, on Tuesdays, you can stack up happy hour and Taco Tuesday, right? So you can go in, you can get the $9 margarita, and you can do the Taco Tuesday half off tacos. Bing, bang, boom. There you go. Go Puesto. Check it out. Eatpuesto.com to check out more of their menu. Okay, so what do you do at quarterback now for the 49ers? Jimmy Garoppolo played. Presumably, Trey Lance will only be healthier from that knee sprain. He has played against the Arizona Cardinals. Jimmy played well. That was Jimmy Garoppolo when Jimmy Garoppolo is playing his good football. That's not Jimmy. I'm not saying Jimmy Garoppolo turned some corner or look out now. The whole conversation changes, but that is what he looks like when he plays well.
Well, what about the 7 Trey Lance plays today against the Bears? Oh, wait,
didn't get him.
Didn't happen.
No,
so he didn't play.
I think we'll get him next week, though. I do think we'll get him against the Cardinals.
I don't know if I could say that because I think Kyle has shown now that two quarterback thing that we saw once upon a time. Now maybe he'll do a play or two.
Yeah.
But if Jimmy, like today, I think you saw both sides of Jimmy. There were several drops, but some of those drops are because they're not exactly hitting the guy in the numbers. They have to reach. And some of his 17 completions are fantastic catches from like Sanu leaping like he's Tracy McGrady in the air or Deebo making a play out of his ass. So he is an inaccurate quarterback. And when I say inaccurate, I don't mean like, one of the worst quarterbacks of all time. He just throws it in the vicinity, but you have to make a play. Now, he also sometimes hits a guy in stride, but more often than not, he misses high. And I think it's also why, if you just look at some of Jimmy's picks, it goes off guys' fingers and the tips and overthrows and it's picked behind him, right? Now, he's thrown picks to guys, but yeah, Jimmy, a couple plays in the red zone, they call his number, he's athletic enough, he runs it in. But like I don't come away, because I think it's like, oh, Jimmy threw for 322 yards. Well, like you said, 83 yards of that are off a play that Deebo made, and he gets all the credit. That's just part of the way the game is. I mean, Mahomes has gotten a lot of touchdowns on the push pass. It's the way the game is statistically, accounted for. But like, yeah, it was for Jimmy, that was as good as he's played since 2019. But I still think when you really go for the context of the game, there were several throws, drops, and catches that are just kind of hold on to your ass for that are a little high, and that's just his game. He misses high. Like he misses high, which to me is scary against better teams. You were able to avoid it, but it's just something that I am not like come away just think that Jimmy is just some savior now and he's got his groove back.
No, I think Trey's still very much on the table. Now, to your point about how much does Trey play next week, if I were going to agree with you, watch a game, and as you're watching the game, try to figure out where to put Trey Lance in. Like if you watch that Bears game today and watched it in your mind, let's see if we can get Trey Lance a series. It's really hard to find a spot, right? Because it's like, all right, the Bears score, it's a one-score game, so what do you do here? Do you do it here, down a score, when you feel like you can get down the field? If you do it and you fail, then they get the ball and score. Now you're down 2 because you try to work them in. It's hard. You take a lead, you're like, well, I don't want him to throw a pick, so I can't do it there. So I agree with you. It's way easier in theory than in practice to say, I'm going to work this other quarterback into the game.
Do you also think with the drops, it evened out with some of the great plays that some of his wide receivers make from high pointing the ball?
I don't know.
They have to leap off the ground.
No, I know they do. I do think part of the job of the receiver is you just have to have the best teams in the league have receivers that go catch the ball that doesn't hit them between the numbers. So when you've got a big third down play and you drop it because it's high, but you get both hands, like it just is a drop. Like a drop.
I'm not saying a drop. I'm
like
not saying a
third
drop
down
is on
today.
Jimmy. Yeah.
No, I know.
It's got to be caught.
I just think if we watched a team that won 11 games every day, 17 weeks, they would just part of winning those games is someone just makes a catch that's like, damn, multiple times in the course of a game. You just have to have it.
I agree.
You have to have it. And so I mean, I just think that happens all over the league. Like, yeah, Jimmy does miss high. It is just part of it. Just happens a lot.
He's just not that accurate. I mean, it's just not.
No. But I did think it was one of his better games. It didn't change anything. Like, I do think one thing with him, he does have a really good feel in the pocket. He does. And today, like the ball where Deebo was the touchdown run where Deebo's coming across, clearly something was, Greg Olsen said he thought the ball was supposed to be snapped. It didn't get snapped. And so Jimmy kind of stops Deebo in motion, just takes the snap, runs it himself. He does have a feel for those things.
I'm not trying to shit on Jimmy, but you better have a pocket presence if you're not going to be the most accurate guy, right?
Well, yeah, but most guys don't. Like that, to me, the pocket presence and the release is part of what, at his best, makes him like, a 15 to 20 range quarterback.
You can win games.
Like those are his strengths. Those are things that he does better than other average quarterbacks.
Today was his best game by far, pushing the ball down the field and being accurate, like in the guy's vicinity of hitting them, right, and giving them the ability to make plays. Like the Deebo bomb, that was probably the best throw he's had in 3 years, right, since 2019. A 40, 50-yard pass hits the guy in stride. You never see it. And he had several other ones, not quite like that, but it was that he has not had very recently.
I spoke to a former Patriots player last night, John. I said, "What, Jimmy, tell me." He's like, he goes, I wasn't there when that story that Michael Bennett told. He's like, knowing Jimmy, that would surprise me. Those were his words.
He played with Jimmy.
Play with Jimmy, knows Jimmy. He says, knowing Jimmy, he's like, he's just a good dude. He's like that would surprise me if Jimmy like did that. But anyway, whatever. That's not the debate here. He's not getting traded. He's not getting traded by two. I mean, this is not about trade value anymore. I don't want to hear about trade value.
Well, it doesn't exist. No one has the money to take
I don't want to talk about it. But I do think they're 3-4 and trying to get to 4-4. And you're right. It's a lot harder to work Trey Lance in. If I told you this, actually, I'm not going to say that. Here's the other conversation.
If he's healthy, Jimmy's starting these next 2 games.
Yeah, here's the other conversation I'm not going to have, even though I almost just started it. Here's the hypothetical that I'm going to say we can't have this conversation, but here's the example. If you get that Jimmy every week, how many games can you win? No, but you don't get that every week. That's part of this, is you don't get that every week, right? No. That's part of the kind of the roller coaster. But I mean,
I'll give you one. If you get Colt McCoy, Jimmy, you have the better quarterback in the game, right? So next week you get a game at home with the better quarterback in the game. Then the following week it gets a little more difficult. But we'll just live in the present. You win that game, all of a sudden you're 4-4.
They play San Diego State the next week?
No, they play Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams of Los Angeles,
who are just a machine. I mean, I know they played the Texans today, but
yeah, they're pretty good.
Trade for Deshaun, John?
I think Deshaun's got maybe a little false sense of where he's at in his career. So no, I would say no on that one.
As Zark on YouTube says, you don't play the worst defense in the league every week. That's the facts, Jax.
Yeah,
that's the fact. The question is,
Arizona's defense is a lot better, right?
Yeah, but sometimes the way that no doubt.
But here's the way that, and listen, I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves, but the way that you just beat the Bears is how you beat what the Packers did, run it down their throat. It's what the Niners and the Rams have done over the last couple years to give Cliff Kingsbury problems. You out-physical them at the point of attack. And one guy that's going to be missing that will help Jimmy and who killed McGlinchey last time, and it's those quotes that Lynch had that kind of became polarizing a couple weeks ago about Brandon Ayuk. On that same interview, he talked about, that was a bad McGlinchey game because J.J. Watt kicked his ass. Well, J.J. Watt's shoulder fell off, which sucks. I mean, the guy has had just devastating injuries for just an all-time great. If J.J. Watt had Aaron Donald's run of health, for 10 years, I mean, we're talking about one of the top 5 defensive linemen ever, but he just can't stay on the field. And the Niners, they benefit from that. So Jimmy then benefits from that. And then the Niners run game benefits from that. And then all of a sudden you can run it like the Packers just did. You can then just make some plays. You got to be able to run it against them. Now, part of running it against them keeps Kyler off the field. That changed a little bit with Colt, who honestly, I can't even remember the last time I watched Colt McCoy play in the National Football League.
Had to be WFT, right?
Yeah, but I didn't watch those games. So, I mean, me actually sitting there and watching Colt McCoy play, it's what we always talk about. Colt McCoy has an incredible job. He's going to meet people how long you play in the NFL? He's like, 13 years. The problem is that whatever that number ends the moment you have to play 4 or 5 years, and Steve Keim goes, we can't have this guy as our backup because we can't win games. If he's just a disaster. And listen, more often than not, a Colt McCoy in that situation is pretty putrid. I'm not saying him, but I'm just saying that human being that you never see play and just is able to how did he play for so long without ever playing? Because you just are able to kind of fool and have the coaches like you.
I guess
maybe he's better than I'm giving him credit for. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when they're healthy, DeAndre Hopkins limped off a couple of times last week on Thursday.
Bad hammy. Yeah.
With the hammy, and if they're healthy, they do have enough. Or Chase Edmonds looks like I tweeted out I googled he went to Fordham several weeks ago, and I went and looked at his college numbers as I was watching Thursday Night Football. He scored in his first 3 years at Fordham in the Patriot League or wherever Fordham plays in, 69 touchdowns in 3 years. 60, and I tweeted that, and I had a bunch of Patriot League assistant coaches tweeting in my time. I'm always knew Chase Edmonds because I was this guy was just murdering future Georgetown grads who were getting ready to go work at Wall Street. There's so many people that played against Chase Edmonds who never sniffed the NFL, and he looks like that. It's like Elijah Mitchell going from Louisiana Lafayette to the NFL. I mean, he's killing people. So they do have enough around there. They know what they're doing. Obviously, as a team, they've got some other good players on defense. I think
Rondale Moore is really good.
Rondale Moore's very good. Like, you are gonna need Kittle, and you're gonna need Ayuk again. Like, I think with Ayuk, it's about let's just stack and then stack another to the point that we're just not talking about him. Kyle's not getting asked about him. He's not getting asked about it. And he can just kind of have a normal rest of the year. That's what I want from Brandon Ayuk. Just have a normal rest of the year. But to me, it's first and foremost about Kittle this week. And not having J.J. Watt maybe means that you can get Kittle out a little bit and throw the football. And it's not so much, not that Kittle's blocking J.J. Watt necessarily, but just the trickle-down effect of not having J.J. Watt, John, maybe means that you can throw the ball to Kittle more. Because at times when Kittle's been on the field, you had to use him as a blocker so much. So maybe that's the trickle-down effect of no JJ, and that would be a big deal for the Niners. Just to find some balance. Because even today it was like Elijah was running the ball, and we'll get to Deebo, but it was like playing Madden. We just throw it to Deebo every time. Throw it to like Drake London at SC. Throw the ball to him 20 times. He got hurt. And he got hurt. Because that happens when you touch the ball 20 times a game, something's going to happen to you. Odds are just a lot of times touch the ball. Not because you break down, you're just putting yourself in harm's way a lot. So
I know
they gotta. I guess we can talk about Deebo now, unless you had something else to say on the quarterbacks.
No, prayers up to Drake London. I love that guy. I hope he's not.
I mean, he air cast it off. Here's the thing about Drake London, John. So Drake London, for people that don't follow, he's USC. He's a USC receiver. He was I think on pace to win the Blitnikoff Award this year. He still, I think, is going to be the offensive player of the year in the Pac-12 because listen to this. He got hurt. He had 9 catches and 2 touchdowns when he got hurt in the second quarter of their game against Arizona on Saturday. So in 8 games, he has 88 catches and 1,084 yards. The 88 catches are 29 more catches than the second-place receiver in the Pac-12. And the 1,084 yards I got to do some math. Second place is 658. And the guy that has 658 has played in one more game than Drake London played in. So he's going to finish the year as the leading receiver in the Pac-12 if he doesn't play another snap. So he could still be the offensive player of the year in the league. I just hope he's healthy enough to work his way back, by the combine, if that's what happens. And he's healthy enough to just be healthy by the draft and doesn't have to come back to school to rehab.
So the Blitnikoff, I mean, he probably, with those numbers and just being a top 15 player, now that one of the Ohio State guy might get it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy at Purdue. I haven't checked on his numbers lately. There's a guy at Purdue who's been putting
just beat
up
Nebraska. I think
numbers.
Purdue's pretty good. I think Purdue's like 6-2.
Yeah, I mean, John, Drake London was 3rd in the nation in receiving, and the other 2 guys were Western Kentucky and Utah State. Western Kentucky, by the way, Mike White from
Stanford,
Western Kentucky. Purdue, David Bell. That guy's been going off. Yeah. That guy's been going off. So I don't see Garrett Wilson at Ohio State is 23rd in yards per game because they kind of got a share, I think.
Oh, yeah. What's the other guy's name? Olave?
Chris Olave.
I just like his last name.
He does have a good last name. So, Deebo, check this out. You ready for this? The Niners put this out in their post-game notes. Deebo Samuel has the most receiving yards by a 49er through the first 7 games of a season in franchise history. Deebo has 819 yards receiving. You want to read the other 4 people on the list?
Yeah, Jerry Rice, Dwight Clark, Jerry Rice.
There's the list. So there's some context of how good of a year Deebo Samuel's having.
That's a pretty good crew, guy, of people to be named with. Obviously, I tweeted just joking around Debo Rice. He's having a remarkable season. He is a player that is just, to me, what makes a star wide receiver, and this is obviously Jerry's, the GOAT, but even Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, whenever they show the list of Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, it's not just be able to do one thing. Like forever, we just thought Deebo is this really physical wide receiver. Well, right now, he can take a quick screen, 80 yards. Now, he's not a 4-2 guy, right? Like Randy Moss and Terrell Owens score on that play. He doesn't have elite speed, but he's definitely fast enough. He can dominate in the short game, right? Quick outs, quick slants, that type stuff. The deep passing game and the intermediate passing game, which kind of just evolves into one of the go-to routes for them is that drag across the middle on play action stuff. And then the deep bomb that he hit today, like, shows that he has no problem pushing just a corner like, hey, I'm just going to fucking run by you. So right now, to me, he encompasses everything that you need out of a star wide receiver. And some star wide receivers, like Keenan Allen, is never really going deep. For the most part, he's only doing his work 20 yards, but he's so dominant at it. And forever, that was kind of Deebo, just like it was within 20 yards. But now if he can add that element of going deep, we know that, everything else and just his physicality of breaking tackles is, let's face it, like he's one of an all-pro level player through, the first half of the season right now. Like, that's the level in which he's operating on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think opening up downfield throws for Deebo is really important to his health. Having him be, the yak leader in the league or somewhere near it, he was third behind DeAndre Swift and Cooper Kupp. I don't know if that's coming into the day or after today, but looking at
Cooper Kupp is having an incredible season.
But the thing with Deebo, John, is I've been really consistent. I've said this for a while now. I worry if the only way you can get him the ball is around the line of scrimmage. Those are high impact collisions. Those are a lot of people around your body, as opposed to one-on-one with a corner just dragging you down. And that's a dangerous place to be for a high volume, high usage player. And getting him the ball in space, when you say get your playmaker the ball in space, it usually feels like that means we're talking about like throwing bubble screens to guys.
Like Rondale Moore, a guy get on the ball, let him just make plays.
Yeah, and end arounds, all that stuff. Jet sweeps, that's all well and good. But there's like heavy people running around the line of scrimmage, and there's a lot of them. There's crowds. Crowds is where guys get hurt in crowds.
Yep.
People falling on you.
Collateral.
Collateral damage. Opening the downfield plays up for getting him the ball downfield, to me, is it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Well, if you can do that, then you have everything in your arsenal, and you're a complete player. Because when you're not a complete player, I've never schemed against anybody, but I've heard coaches talk about this during game weeks. You take away what they can't do, right? And you force them. Okay, Deebo, we're going to crowd you around the line of scrimmage because we don't think you can beat us deep. So if he starts threatening you deep, it's what makes great players. Like, what is Devonte Adams' weakness? Like, well, he didn't run that fast at the combine. Well, he plays fast. I see him hit bombs all the time. Like, he has no weakness, right? Larry Fitzgerald in his prime. You see the play DK made today. Like, DK's game has just become more well-rounded. And when you become more well-rounded, you become harder to stop and harder to defend against. And then you benefit from, like, well, what are your other pieces on offense? Because if you're not the only guy, what makes Devonte so incredible is he doesn't really have any other wide receivers. In theory, when Kittle comes back and Ayuk, like, you can't just put 3 DBs on Deebo. So it's like, you are not going to be able to stop me one-on-one. But you don't have a choice because we're running the ball well. We have a star tight end, and we have a couple other wide receivers that can get open. So then it's just, is our quarterback completing balls? Because if he is, I'm going to fuck you up. And that's kind of what Debo's doing right now. We all know they're going to throw it to 19, and it hasn't mattered. They've thrown it to him short. They've thrown it to him intermediately, and they've now hitting him deep. And that, to me, it's cool to see. Like, I have a soft spot for watching, just young players come along and improve. And, we had talked so much, and like you just said, it was just like, God, is he going to be able to last? Because everything is around the line of scrimmage, and he just takes these. Part of his yak was like breaking linebacker tackles, right? And now it's like, well, just treat him more like a wide receiver. It's like, okay, Jalen Johnson tackles him is a lot different than Ray Lewis, right?
Yeah. He's just
not obviously Roquan Smith.
He just, when you watch the league, he's one of the most reliable players in the NFL, which as a great player is a unique combination, right? To be a great player and to also be reliable. And I think it's safe to say he's a great player and he plays like a franchise cornerstone, which is what his numbers say he is. But I mean, he makes his plays in the big moments. Like when you watch Deebo, there's not a lot of, trash time. It is moments. Like he has moments. It really is. I don't know how. It's just he has this stat blew my mind, John. Deebo Samuel now has 8 100-yard receiving games in his career. 4 of them have come this year, which doesn't quite feel like as a team but he's just been carrying the load for them.
Well, another just big picture topic with Deebo. He was taken above A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. And those guys, let's face it, are just stars, right? Like Debo or AJ made plays today too, but DK had a catch today that's just like, Jesus. That back shoulder touchdown, you're just like, that's what, and he just physically looks like a superstar. Every game you watch AJ Brown, you're like, that's what a blue chip big boy looks like. And now Debo's just like, you can talk about him this year like them. Like, he's a dominant player. And that to me makes it easier on like, this team gets crushed on some of their draft picks. Like, well, they could have had these guys instead of Debo. No one's saying that right now.
Yeah. It's a good point because he's not the little engine that could, right?
He looks a lot different than those two guys, right?
He does. But he was the 36th pick in the draft out of the SEC.
Yeah.
Right. Like they believed him when they drafted him.
And those guys come from the SEC too, obviously on the same team.
Right. I'm just saying, like, this is not like, I think sometimes Debo, it's like, oh, it's good to see Debo doing it. It's like, no, this is what he was drafted to do. And and I think a lot of times, like, being the person that comes out of nowhere is great. That's its own category. Being the person that there was a lot expected of that delivers on those expectations is also great. And you don't get as much credit for that usually. Usually you get credit for, we didn't know you'd be any good, and look how great you are. That's really cool. When something's expected of you, we get dismissed. Like, we expect you to be great. So congrats on living up to expectations.
Agreed.
But it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of talent, it takes a lot of focus, it takes a lot of everything.
Now we saw
Leadership.
flashes. We saw flashes his rookie year. Last year when he was healthy, he was really good. A huge knock on him has been just like the soft tissue stuff. He pulls hamstrings. Can he stay healthy? And he has been healthy this year. Even, I think, last game, he tweaked something, and boom, he hasn't missed any games. He's been playing. He's been reliable. A huge part about being a star, an underrated part, I think, about being a star is, are you reliable? Do you show up? Like that, I think that's, I'd say Kittle's kind of had a ding on that. Like, no one takes anything away how good he is, how much talent he has, how physically dominant he is when he's on the field, but you just now kind of go into every season like, can you get 12 games out of Kittle? Right? Like, just because Kittle's coming back this week, are you just sure that he's here for the rest of the season? And that's where, if Debo can just have a season where you play 17 games, and then again, like, he's contract eligible after this season, like, I would want to see one more game. Or, I mean, not one more game, one more season. Like, I can't just break you off the Amari, 5 for 100, 20 a year. Can you do it 2 years in a row? That is just a big picture question we were talking about. Because to me, superstars, Google Devontae's resume. Like, and when we talk about Kittle, like, look at Kelsey's resume. It's about doing it year after year after year, which is hard. I mean, there's some element you're getting hit. Like, some of it's just luck, and others it just like your body type. Like, did they get him on a better stretching plan? I know they had talked about that. His workouts over the offseason were different. This year he was healthy. Was it last year? Remember, he broke his foot, right, in the Camp Jimmy. So maybe it's just they've turned a corner. But the more data you have, the better you feel about a guy. Like, you look at Keenan Allen's resume. It's like 5 straight years of just every year doing whatever. Cooper Kupp, he had the 1 year, I think, where he tore his knee. But other than that, it's just production. And it's just very nice to just be able to rely on a person. And it's the one thing, really, the Niners star players. Trent really is not theirs. I mean, they just acquired him last year. And really, he's been pretty reliable for them. But like Kittle, just injury-wise, Debo injury-wise, Bosa had the freak injury, but he still missed a bunch of time. Obviously, Jimmy's missed a bunch of time. Probably Fred Warner's really the only guy that is basically just feels like he never misses a game, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking right now. So he's got, actually, those are old numbers. But here's Devonte Adams, since you mentioned him. Devonte, year 3. Devonte was good year 2, but year 3 is when it really started for him. And this is year 3 for Debo. 75 catches for Devonte in year 3, 12 touchdowns. 74 catches and 10 touchdowns in year 4. 111 catches and 13 touchdowns in year 5 in 2018. And then had a 5-touchdown year, 83 catches, 115 and 18 touchdowns last year. I mean, so, year 3, it was a steady build, and he took off. And Devonte,
he missed a game here and there.
Yeah, his body of work is consistent. Year to year, though, he does miss games.
I think in 19, he had a hamstring that knocked him out that month, right? That's 4 games he missed there. Last year, he missed a couple games. I can't remember what the injury was. This year, I mean, I don't, COVID. Yeah, not his fault.
But that's a different category.
I could live with if Kittle had 4 straight years of like, hey, 14 out of 16 every year. That just hasn't really been the case, right? We're already at minimum this year will be 14 out of 17, which I think, would you take right now 13 out of 17? If I just told you that right now, you're taking 13 out of 17.
Absolutely. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think you have to.
But this goes back to, you always used to joke around like the worst guy to draft on, early, when people put a lot of stock in your like first and second round picks are linemen, right? There's offensive linemen. They're boring. But when you do take a skill guy, a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, you just think like, could this guy be a stud? And then when he starts to become a stud, it is sweet. It is sweet. Part of Elijah Mitchell, the overwhelming 99% of Niner fans, let's face it, had never heard of him before he came to the Niners. Like, you're not watching Louisiana Lafayette. Hell, they're not even really on TV. It's not like when you draft Saquon Barkley, everyone knows who he is. When you draft even, A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf, those Ole Miss teams weren't good. The reason that the DK was so famous was because of the picture, right? It wasn't because people had the scouting report on the guy.
Right.
That's the difference of all the Bama
his production
guys.
was not, but also his production was not right. If he'd been,
I would say the Bama skill guys over the last several years
helps when you're playing like five or six CFP games by the time you're a sophomore. Or I guess you couldn't do that, but by the time you're a junior, like a lot of those guys, junior year, they played in 6 college football playoff games.
Yeah,
or at least been around,
that helps too.
Big moments. All that kind
Who's
of
this
stuff.
Trevor Lawrence guy? Oh, yeah. I've watched him play in 7 championship
As a true
games.
freshman, beat Alabama in the national title. At Levi Stadium, by the way.
Weren't you there?
Yeah, I was there for that game.
An absolute ass kicking?
Yeah, it wasn't. By the way, let me show you this. For those of you watching on the YouTube, let me show. I just saw this post game from the Saints game. Have you seen the post game video from the Saints?
No. I mean, it's probably Sean Payton doing the dance, right?
No, they've got like a smoke machine, and it's Jameis dancing on crutches. Look at this. I don't know who posted this video, but they've got strobing lights, smoke machine, and Jameis on crutches with like a huge leg brace on his knee. Did you see the play where Jameis went down? No, I just saw them taking him off.
Yeah, I didn't either. It doesn't look good then. He's got a huge brace, and those type crutches are always the ones that are like, ugh.
I mean, I would say this. If you were concerned about Trey Lance going to the Giants game on a knee sprain, maybe Jameis breaking it down in the middle of the floor he's holding his crutches like they're swords or something.
Not out of the realm of possibility he's out for the season, so maybe he doesn't even care.
Could be that. Yeah, could be that. But some wild stuff happened today. I mean, the NFC, Green Bay and Arizona are 7-1, like the Thursday night game. Dallas, they're on as we're. What's the score of that game? I got Adam Duvall hit a grand slam. But they're 5-1. Tampa Bay now lost, right? They're 6-2. The Rams are 5-1, but they're a wild card team at this moment in time. I think the Rams end up winning the NFC West. I don't think the Cardinals are going to win the NFC West, and part of that might depend on Kyler. But Minnesota's 3-3. Carolina win today? They must have. They broke their 4-game
Carolina won. Darnold got KO'd. He got absolutely lit up. I mean, destroyed. And he's just not that good. I mean, that's one. I'll take the L on that one because I thought the Niners could have been like, just trade for him, second-round pick. You can develop him. He's not that talented one.
No.
From an arm talent standpoint.
His arm is not great. That's the first thing about him.
His arm stinks. And then he plays like Jameis in Tampa. Jameis has improved. Like I was watching early before he got injured. Like Jameis made some good plays. Jameis is a lot better with Sean Payton.
Did he throw a pick today?
I didn't see him throw a pick. He threw a nice deep ball that I saw. He made some plays. Like Jameis has clearly improved. Like Sam's getting worse. Sam is not doing great for Joe Brady's stock.
No.
I think Joe Brady's stock has just kind of stayed neutral. It has not vaulted to like, Dayball or some high level, assistant that we'd be talking about with Sam Darnold. But God, he got destroyed. They're just. Here's what I know: Carolina Panthers, they ain't making the playoffs. No siree, that ain't happening. Well, I still think for the Saints, we'll see. I mean, let's just say worst case, Jameis out for the season. Simeon's their backup. It's one thing to come in and win a game. It's another. They have 7 more games left, or 10 more games left. What is their record? 5-2. So they have 10 more games left. Could they go 5-5 with Simeon? Maybe.
No, I don't think so. And this is where, again, recording this before the end of Sunday Night Football, but if you're the Niners, you do want Minnesota to lose.
But Dak's not playing, so Minnesota's probably.
No, I know. I'm just saying that Dak not playing, if that costs them the game, that hurts the Niners.
Yeah. The Niners do get to play the Vikings, though, this year.
Because if Jameis is out for a while, then again, it's what we thought. There's 2 playoff spots open in the NFC. The 6 and the 7 spot. New Orleans and Minnesota have them now as we record this. Minnesota's 3-3. The rest of the NFC, the NFC has 5 pretty damn good teams. And that's Green Bay, Arizona.
I'd say damn good teams.
Well, yeah, I said pretty good because I think like the Rams, like I don't think they're all exactly the same, but yeah, okay, damn good teams. Green Bay, Arizona, Tampa Bay, Dallas, the Rams. And then the 2 teams are going to make the playoffs that are going to be barely better than like the 3 teams that don't make the playoffs right behind them in the NFC. Okay, it's like they'll be a little better, but like the playoffs are right there for 2 teams in the NFC to go take.
You do get the 7 seed. You're playing like Green Bay or Tampa.
Yeah,
right?
No, you deal with that later. Or Arizona maybe,
or Arizona. But if Kyler misses 3 games, like that could be 0-3, right?
Yeah,
on top of the game they just
right.
lost.
You're playing Rodgers or Brady or Stafford. I think that it'll be one of those 3, and it might be Rodgers or Brady.
The Niners do. I said it, but I'm just thinking out loud. I'm going to look at their schedule. They play Minnesota because they play the NFC North, so you get to play them head to head, which I do think just will be a tough game, right? I mean,
Saturday after Thanksgiving or Sunday
after
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. To me, yeah. Cardinals, Rams, Jags, Vikings. You just find a way to win that. You do get the Rams at home. That's Monday Night Football. That would be pretty fun.
Is the Manning's going to be on that game?
They took like a month off, so I would imagine are they just back rocking and rolling? Peyton, do you notice Peyton, who clearly got something? He got a monument today at Denver. Never misses a Bronco game. Goes to every Bronco game. Like he's like
on KOA radio. I was like, he's on KOA radio today. What is going on?
Well, that is because that's
games from home.
Yeah,
he doesn't go to Monday Night Football, right?
He's not like he mentioned they asked him about like would he be interested in buying the Broncos?
Yeah,
he's like, well, he had a great quote. He's like, well, I just checked my bank account. The $3 billion, I can't find it in my bank account. Maybe it's in some other secret account, but right now, yeah, that's not really an option. He's like, I'm very lucky that the one bright spot out of the last 2 years has been this emergence of people doing stuff from home. And he's like, I call Monday Night Football from my buddy's garage across the street, and Eli does it from his backyard. So, like, I got it pretty good right now. That's a great question.
The garage, you notice there's a car behind Peyton in the garage. Like
it's
a
his
classic
buddy's
vehicle.
garage. I think Peyton lives in, clearly, this incredible community in Dove Valley or whatever. That might be the wrong community. Whatever the community is, I can't even imagine what his buddy's house looked like. And I would die to know what his buddy does. I would guess that there's a chance that his buddy has as much, if not more money than Peyton Manning, right? As a businessman doing.
Yeah,
his buddy might
got to go to his garage.
Could it be like Peter Coors?
Right.
I mean, his buddy might just be like, Peter's like, oh, yeah, you use my garage. I got to set up. Yeah, I mean, who knows who his buddy is? I got my buddy John Bon Jovi. I don't know. I mean, just someone famous and rich, or one of the two, if not both.
Yep. Lions look sharp today, says the shills on the stream. The Lions were terrible, John. Terrible. They lost 44-6. At one point, the Lions and the Texans were down 38-0 at the same time. The
Combined.
Eagles,
no.
Each. That's 76-0 combined. The Texans then, I don't know what that Rams-Texans line was, but they might have backdoor covered because they scored 22 unanswered. The Texans did. It was 38-22 was the final score. They scored 22 points in the fourth quarter.
I don't quite understand this. Do you know how many touchdowns Jalen Hurts threw/ran for? So he combined throwing and running for. What would you guess?
Well, I'm just looking. It looks like they scored 5 touchdowns, so 5.
He did not throw a touchdown, and he also did not rush for a touchdown. Jalen Hurts did not throw for it. Jalen Hurts in a win where they won 44-6 was 9 of 14 for 103 yards, no touchdowns. He had 70 yards rushing, but no touchdowns. Boston Scott had 2. Jordan Howard had 2. I guess Darius Slay
Oh, so they must have
picked up a fumble, took it to the house. So that's
okay.
5. That's 35, and then they kicked
Touchdown.
some field goals.
The
Lions are really bad.
9 of 14 for 103. Minshew also came in and threw 2 balls, apparently.
Not that I've watched that much Texans. The Lions are worse. They have worse players than the Texans, right? I've just seen enough Texans of like players that I've heard of or know of, right? Like NFL pros. Like the Lions are. I don't know if it's impossible for them to go 0-17, just because Goff is not good enough to just like put a team on his back in a tight game, and then they're gonna lose. This is not the last time they're going to lose by 20, 30 points, right? It's going to happen a couple more times. They just do not have any players. And Jared Goff is the worst type, like Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, those type quarterbacks. You put them on the worst team, you are in major trouble. Like at least if you had like a Tyrod Taylor, or even Jalen Hurts, it's like one game, he runs for 100 yards and runs in 3 touchdowns. Like Jared Goff does not have that ability. You know, like it just
I saw one play on red zone. He got swallowed up by 4 guys.
Oh my God! He like turned and the guy grabbed him and slams him, and then all the Eagles were like doing this high five, and it's like, oh my!
Nowhere to go.
He got destroyed. The highlight of the game, the highlight of the day. I do not even think it's close. Is I don't follow this guy because I'm not even that dirty. It's not even. I don't even pretend. It's not a guilt. I refuse to follow him. I do follow him on Instagram, I think. But O.J. Simpson, he tweeted his hello Twitter world sitting in a box at the Bills game. O.J., I didn't know. Maybe you can't for a guy that ban a guy from your league, but I can't even imagine.
I mean, Pete Rose got banned, but like for betting on baseball.
Yeah.
For a while, he wasn't allowed to come to stadiums.
I mean, O.J. potentially gutted 2 people in the front yard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
at
just
the Bills game.
When he's there, it's like you go, well, what are we going to ban him for? But then you see him there, you're like, I don't want him here.
What did people see? I mean, I'm sure people are taking pictures with him. You know, it becomes like a carnival act.
It really is. Who are the Lions going to beat? Are the Lions going to be the first team to ever go 0-17? Steelers, Browns, Bears, Vikings, Broncos, Cardinals, Falcons, Seahawks, Packers.
I don't think they match up well against any of those teams.
I mean, the Falcons, who are they the most unwatchable team in the NFL right now? Atlanta?
I'd probably put Detroit because at least maybe Kyle Pitts or Calvin Ridley, I guess, stepped away from the team. So, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. You're right. It's hard to be more. But
who's that? You say the Packers are their last game?
Yeah, so they could have it sewn up. They could have the homie hemmed up and
play Jordan Love.
The Lions would be all around. Yeah.
But would they be a lock to lose that game if Jordan Love and just random? Because it's not college. You wouldn't just start all freshmen. Like they would still have to play some of their guys.
Could you imagine Dan Campbell, the passion for a Week 18 matchup when you're 0-16, trying to avoid going 0-17, trying to win at the end, but also your fans just want you to get the number 1 pick. But for who? Out of Kayvon.
You would probably have the number 1 pick sewn up at 0-16, don't you think?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah,
Miami is going to win a game.
Texans will win a game, another game.
Miami will win a game.
Jacksonville?
What's their record?
They're a 1-win team.
I could see them winning 2 total. Can you? Because again, Lawrence can run. It's hard. If you go 0-17,
I don't think
your team's really bad. How do you ever approach becoming a 500 career coach? Like, think about digging out of that hole. Because then, like, in 2022, what would the over-under on the Lions be? Right? Their over-under probably be like 4. So let's just say they have a bounce-back season. They win 5. Well, then he's 5-12. So that would be what? 5. That would be 8. What's 5? What's 5 times 7? Yeah, so he's 7 games under 500. So he's 17 games under 500. He's 24 games under 500 2 years into his career. How do you ever dig out of it, guy? Like, it's just There's just no ability to ever dig out of it. Because you're never going to have like, oh, then the Lions in 3 years are, 15-2. Like, that's not happening. So even if you have a great year for the Lions, you're like 9-8. So you only get one game above. So you're 24 down. You only knock into that one game. So you're still 23 games under 500. That assumes by year 3 they're able to go 9-8. And if you go 5-12, if you go 5-12 after going 0-17, a 5-game improvement from the following year is pretty impressive.
What's Philly going to do? Tripp says, doesn't Philly get Miami's pick?
Yep.
What is it kind of, you'd like to have a number 1 quarterback in the draft when.
Well, the Lions would take him if he existed.
Yeah. I'm just saying neither one of them. There's not really a clear, although, they could take QB. They could take our QB1, John.
Who's that?
Oh. Jake Haener. Everybody on College Game Day picked against the Bulldogs, unbeaten San Diego State, the old oil can. Except as Jake, I didn't see Game Day, I didn't see the picks. I normally watch, but I slept in on Saturday, and Jake did the post-game interview with our guy Cam Worrell, awesome dude. He works the sidelines for Fresno State's radio broadcast, just great dude. He told him, what was Ken Jeong's character's name from The Hangover?
I forget what his name
was.
But
anyway, that's what Jake called him.
Okay, that's what threw me off. I was like, who's he talking about? That's what he meant.
Leslie Chow. He's like, Leslie Chow from The Hangover. You're the only one that picked us. And then I saw Ken Jeong retweeted it. So,
yeah.
I think Jake, we had him on the show last week. If you missed it, go listen to our show with Jake Haener. Like, you win some big games, you become a national story. They did that early in the year when they beat UCLA, just getting his ass kicked. Physically standing up, making plays, just being a stand-up guy. But then you start doing, like, this is face of the program type stuff right here from Jake Haener. Just not shocked, John. We're not shocked.
But, God, on an all-serious note from the Fresno State football program, they're now 7-2. They're in the driver's seat to obviously host the Mountain West championship game, because the way the Mountain West does it, they don't get, they get to go to Atlanta or Jerry's Palace. You just get to host it. It's a little non-Power 5-y, but that's cool. And they win the Mountain West, that's a big deal. He's going to be the quarterback that leads a potential 10-2 team. They'd be 11-2 going into a bowl game, and they'd get a pretty good bowl, I would imagine. That's for Fresno State. Like, at the end of the day, they're not Alabama or SC or Texas or anything.
Thank you for that update.
You go 12-2 at that program. That's that's legendary stuff. Right?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yep.
And that was a game. Like, the UCLA game was a historic moment. Part of it is because anytime you're at the non-Power 5 and, at Fresno State specifically, and you play one of the California Power 5s, but mainly the 2 LA schools, and you beat them, you get a plaque on the wall in the pro. Like, you just talk about that game forever and the way they did it. But to then win the conference and keep winning games, he's having a fucking remarkable season. Now, Carson Strong, they played UNLV on Friday night. I was just flipping around TV. I just watched a little. He is putting up fantastic numbers. Like, I don't know who's going to be the player of the year in the conference. Like, he's going to have a pretty good, if they go based on wins and losses, like Haener probably have the advantage. But Carson Strong's numbers are pretty stupid. He's throwing for like 400 yards a game, 4 touchdowns. Haener did his throw for 300 against, probably the best defense in the conference.
Yeah, really good defense, and a defense that's been good against him before. So. And they kicked their ass.
Kicked their ass. It was. It wasn't. I was slamming Tito's at at the I can't even think straight right now. Stadium Pub, yeah. And it was just it was 17-0 before you even blink. They score a touchdown. They score another touchdown. They get a pick. It's just like you guys are not on our level. Haener's throwing these fucking.
Haener's the number 1 passer in the league right now by 5 yards over Carson Strong. He's got 23 touchdowns. Strong's got 24. Haener's got 6 picks. Strong has 5.
Okay. So the difference might just be the records, and they beat him.
Yeah. So and obviously they got a great shot now to win the league.
So it's going to be It's going to be between those 2 players for the Player of the Year. Carson Strong's going to get drafted in the second round, I think.
Yeah.
It's not that matters for Mountain West Player of the Year, but he was probably, I'm sure. People think it. I started hearing him. I heard about his name really before Haener, but I love Haener. Haener's my favorite player in college football.
Amen.
I did see someone. I got to give the George, the quarterback guru. that's been training quarterbacks forever, that was on game day for years. Not Reister, but Whitfield.
Yeah.
His idea for the Heisman this year, because let's face it, there's not really a Heisman. You get all 11 starters on. I watched one play of Georgia, Florida. I was flipping channels. I was like, oh, Georgia,
you probably
Florida.
tuned in. It was 38-0.
I flip on one play. The quarterback gets. I mean, I thought he died, but the ball comes out of his hand. Guy picks it off, pick six. His idea: you take all 11 starters, and then 3 or 4 guys. If they rotate in, like the nickel corner, the backup linebacker that also plays, they're the Heisman. The Heisman Trophy goes to Georgia's defense. They look like the 85 Bears of college football. It's remarkable how good they are.
Well, they're the best thing. It's funny. Georgia's not really they're not like offensively, right? Like their defense.
Their quarterback comes from is like a Princeton transfer.
Yeah, he might be he started at Georgia. That's the story. He started at Georgia, left to somewhere.
Yeah, I think Ivy League, and then he went to junior college, and then he came back. But he wasn't even supposed to be the starter, right? Because the dude from USC, who then gets hurt, but his injury's like pretty legitimate, knocks him out for several months. But what are they going to do? Bench this guy that's their team's rolling? You really just go back to JT Daniels, right? Do you expect JT Daniels just to come back when he's fully healthy?
I do not.
It's just, I saw Feinbaum said, like, in my 12 years of doing this, I have never once, now they haven't always won, but I've picked Alabama to win every single game since they won their first national championship, like since Nick Saban became Nick Saban. He's like, it'll be the first time if they play in the SEC championship game, I will pick Georgia to beat Alabama. It's actually a lot of pressure on Kirby to, like, he is now no longer the hunter. Like, he's considered the top team.
I think the other challenge that he's going to have is it's going to feel like for his team that they don't have to win the game. And Alabama is going to feel like they have to win the game, right? Because to me, one loss Alabama beats undefeated Georgia in the SEC title game. Georgia's still going to the playoff.
And Alabama would be in.
Yeah, Alabama. Yeah, Alabama, if they lost to Georgia, they would, as a 2-loss, they're not getting in.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. The first college football playoff rankings come out on Tuesday. And, I think you could justify going Georgia 1, no doubt. Then you could do whatever. I mean, you could do, if you want to do Alabama 2, wouldn't hate it. Because Oklahoma's unbeaten, Michigan State's unbeaten, but Oklahoma's looked a little shaky at times.
Looked a lot better with the rookie, with the freshman quarterback.
Yeah, Caleb Williams. So go one. You can go. You go both of them.
Did you see his stat line yesterday?
No, I just saw they were kicking it. I saw Rattler. I think was the third quarterback. I was watching that game, like out of the corner of my eye. I think Rattler was the third quarterback in that game. Like he came in last.
Yeah, Jesus, I didn't know that.
I could be again corner of my eye, but so that I think. You got unbeaten Power Fives this late in the year. When those rankings come out, I'd be good with those 4 teams being in the top 4. Then I think Oregon should be 5. Like, they've beaten Ohio State head-to-head. Cincinnati is unbeaten with a win over Notre Dame, but their strength of schedule is 103. They haven't played anybody else. So I think Cincinnati could be 5, 6, 7. We'll see.
Caleb Williams. Now, they're playing Texas Tech, whose coach just got fired. Was 23 of 30 for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Oh, okay, because I saw a stat. He's the third Oklahoma quarterback to have 6 touchdowns in a game. Baker did it against Texas Tech, and Kyler did it against Baylor, I think.
Pretty good game. Pretty good game, actually, this week. I would imagine game days there. Oklahoma, Baylor. Baylor just beat Texas. Baylor. Who has Robert Saleh at Baylor, yeah. No, never mind. They get a. Oklahoma
you just call Baylor's coach Robert Saleh?
No, he's got the Robert Saleh look. And my look, ball.
Dave Aranda.
But like Robert Saleh, I battle. I'm pasty white. Those guys have just a fantastic. He's just dark. He looks good. Yeah, and he's got a. He's in shape. He looks. You see how good Robert Saleh looks with like the beard. It's like Robert. I'm sure it hasn't been sunny in New York. Where do you get this tan? He looks darker than he did a month ago. He looked fantastic today. Props to Robert Saleh for getting a win. That was. He's, a lot of people were kind of shitting on them. They were a joke and a laughing stock. And Mike White to come beat the Bengals, and they were down.
Yards.
Weren't they down? They were not winning the whole time.
No, it was just going to be like, all right, hopefully they cover and it's cool. No.
Yeah.
What else?
That's probably all I got.
What? What about the Chargers, though? We talked about that game coming in. Chargers losing to the Patriots. Mac Jones. I mean, what do we do with this guy right now? I mean, he's playing really well for a rookie quarterback. Belichick and the Patriots went in and beat Justin Herbert. And in the AFC right now, New England, still a ways to go, but they're 3-4. I think it's going to be really hard in the AFC to make the playoffs because right now Cleveland's sitting on the outside at 4-4 after losing to Pittsburgh today. So I don't know. I don't know if they can make the play. Kansas City right now is 3-4. Like,
who do you think can make the playoffs? The Patriots or the Chargers?
I'm saying that in the AFC, it's going to be really hard. You've got 3 teams on the outside: Cleveland, New England, and Kansas City right now. So who are you taking out?
Who's the 7th spot?
Pittsburgh.
It's gonna. Do they have enough offense?
No.
That would be my thing. I think New England is not going to go away. Here's what I will say about Mac Jones. I will not retract that I would not have taken him at 3. But right now is Mac Jones, and like you've said, if you put Jimmy with Belichick and those guys, would he look the same? He's pretty, like, in their scheme, what they ask him to do, like, he's pretty solid. He played really well today. When I was I was impressed.
The time to litigate Mac Jones is not now. Like, the reason you don't draft Mac Jones at 3 is because the argument, at least, is pretty easy. It's like in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, his ceiling is going to cap out, and these other guys won't. But if he's just going to do the right thing all the time and then get better at doing the right thing, well, I don't know. We'll see.
One team in the AFC, obviously the Raiders are sitting there firmly at the number 2 overall seed and leading the AFC West just as we all thought they would. And I think they get the Giants this week, so the Raiders are in pretty good shape to just
Raiders get the Giants on a short week.
I'm pretty sure that's the team they play, and then they get the Chiefs after that on either Sunday or Monday Night Football.
At the Giants.
Then they get the Chiefs the following week. Is it Sunday Night Football?
If it's 8:20, is that Sunday night, right? If it's an 8:20 game Eastern.
Are we sure the Bengals are locked to make the playoffs?
No.
So that to me would be the team, and then the Patriots. Like, if you had to bet right now, Patriots, Bengals. Obviously, the Bengals have one game better record. One's 5-3. The Patriots are 4-4. I just have a little more faith in the Patriots. Now, the Patriots have already got their 2 Jets games, like just their lock wins. Like, they've already used those 2 up. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they just have a Jets game where if they just need an easy win, they get a win.
But listen to how long is Baker out?
Well, I mean, he played today.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, you're right. He did play today. Fuck. Sorry. I did see some of that game. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
But their offense, they scored 10 points. They're not very good on offense. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is solid. I think Conklin, I just saw on Twitter, I wasn't watching. I mean, I saw when they go to red zone, got carted off. Like, they've had, I think the Browns are not making the playoffs this year.
Well,
to me, the Browns would be out.
But they're not going to get swept by the Bengals.
Who?
The Browns. Are the Browns going to lose twice to the Bengals? Here, my point is, let me tell you, the Bengals schedule is not easy. They play Cleveland, then they play the Raiders, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Niners, the Broncos, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Browns. That's the Bengals' remaining schedule.
Well, do you know the thing with the Browns? I looked the other day. Their schedule, the last 6 games, Ravens, Sunday Night Football, bye week. Ravens again. So they basically have a home and home back-to-back Ravens. Raiders, at Packers, at Steelers, Bengals. I mean, that's a pretty hard last 6 games of the season. You could argue those 2 teams knock each other out. Do the Patriots and the Chargers, are they just in the playoffs?
How many games are they going to be favored in Cleveland?
I mean, I think they're in
half. Maybe.
Are we burying the lead here? Are the Raiders? Do they feel like a lock to make the playoffs right now?
Yes. Well, but part of that is they're 5-2. They've beaten some of these teams, right? They've beaten the Ravens head to head.
Beating the Steelers.
Lost
to the Chargers.
Yeah, but they'll get them again.
Get them again. Haven't played the Chiefs yet.
We'll sweep them. They're not going to lose twice to the Chiefs.
Raider guy.
Yeah, Raider guy. Yeah, John, and part of it is the more football you watch, the more you go, they're one of the really good teams in the NFL.
The Raiders do. I mean, we're going to get to see them against, obviously they play the Chiefs twice, but they play the Bengals. Like, they play the Cowboys. Dak should be playing in that game. They play the Browns. Even a team that, probably is going to miss the Colts. Like, they play at Indy, who's they have no incentive if Carson keeps playing right to lose games. They're giving up their first-round pick to the Eagles, so we're going to see the Raiders tested just in some environments to just see, are they like are they a 1 or 2 seed, or are they like the 6 seed,
Well, I think this week's a big one for them. Like, we'll talk about it more as the week goes on, but this game in the past at times has tripped them up. Like, you're riding high, everyone believes in you. You're supposed to kick the shit out of the Giants. Do you? Beat them.
Especially the 3-hour time difference game where you're
favorite. Good point. And again, they don't need to win by 21. I don't care. Win it 17-14, but you just got to win this game.
I saw Dubal, when he was getting into it with the fellas online, is like last year. This game coming up was the Falcon game where they were kind of feeling themselves, and they played the Falcons, whose coach was gone, and they lost. Pretty sure the final score is 44-6, and statistically, it was like one of the worst games in the history of offense. Remember that? Like the statistical game for Derek was like one of the worst games ever offensively. Now, I don't even like you should go to the Giants just based on the fact you're coming off a bye and they're coming off a short week. / you're just a way better team. What would you guess the line is on that game? Raiders -5, -6?
Depends what happens tomorrow night, because so if you're 10.5 at the Chiefs, right? That's what the Giants are. Would they be a bigger underdog at the Raiders if the Raiders were hosting the game tomorrow night? Would the Chiefs?
Who's that?
So the Giants are 10.5-point underdogs at Kansas City Monday night, right? That's what you said. Would they be a bigger underdog if they were visiting the Raiders?
No.
It'd be, what would it be? 8.5?
I think the Chiefs just get a lot of love. Yeah, it'd be big. 8. I mean, when are the Raiders? I mean,
I'm just trying to think. What's
I'm
that
not
line
saying it's
be?
right. The line for the Chiefs is probably off, but there's not. Yeah, I don't think it would be that high.
Yeah. Okay. So the Raiders will probably be. I mean, maybe it depends how it looks, but I'm going to guess the Raiders are 5.5 or 6.5 point favorites going to the Giants. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. No, I was thinking right around there.
And we'll take the Raiders to cover.
But again, I think a 6-point favorite is pretty big.
Well, I know. On the road, when you historically, the time is going to be part of that conversation.
The 10 a.m. game
That's
where
the Sharps will be talking about.
Yeah.
And we'll take the Raiders as the lock of the week and try to make it 7 in a row.
Wouldn't be totally against it. I got an idea today that we add a little something to the units.
Oh yeah,
a little bigger. And so we just go from 3 to 5.
I mean, we're plugging along here, John. We're just.
But a big reason we plugged. But a big reason we did that is because we took a huge swing, which I like taking swings. And just plug the units. We felt pretty good about the games. We've been betting on. I'm talking about the single game.
I mean, an expert would say, like, you guys have won 6 in a row. Like, it doesn't that how long is your hot streak going to last?
Well, then why even bet? Just cash out now.
Did you get to say what's up to our guy Jonathan Smith when you're at the Cal Oregon State game?
I did not. He didn't look at my way.
Also, pro Justin Wilcox, Cal's head coach, but Jonathan Smith, the Beavs were rolling. Been loving the Beavs, and tough one on Saturday night.
Ass whooping. Hats off to Chase Garbers.
All right, How about so Chase Garbers is Cal's quarterback, and also, like a lot of guys we talk about, like just really likable guy, solid dude. But his younger brother. I sent him a
DM. He didn't hit me back, but I was giving him his flowers.
You gave him his flowers? What'd you say?
I gave him his flowers. I just said, "Hey, man, I was at the game. You fucking played your ass off. It was awesome to watch." Now I did put $500 on the other team, but he didn't know that.
But he'll get back to you, John. I'm sure he will. He had a late night because he and his dad went to go watch his younger brother, Ethan Garber, start for UCLA against Utah. Tough place to start. And just imagine that, spawning 2 starting quarterbacks in college football. That's pretty impressive work by the Garbers.
Maybe that's why he played his ass off. Like, you're going to see my young brother, who's a bigger recruit. Wasn't the story of part of the reason his brother didn't come to Cal? He would have been sitting behind Chase, been a little weird.
He went to UW initially, went to Washington.
Oh, he did?
Transferred to UCLA in January.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Didn't get that piece of information from my information giver. That's a good nugget.
There you go. There's the nugget. All right. A lot to get to.
Let's go, DoorDash,
that $90 fees you got
right
for
here.
DoorDash.
Yeah.
All right. Later, everybody.